All right, this is the podcast for our cellular reproduction unit. We're only doing the section 1 in this podcast. So chromosomes is what we're learning about. All right, so what are chromosomes? They are rod-shaped structures. They're inside the nucleus, we learned that before, of eukaryotic cells. All cells have chromosomes, but in a nucleus for eukaryotic cells. Where in a prokaryotic cell, it would just be in the cytoplasm. Chromosomes are made up of DNA and protein. And so because they contain DNA, they contain the genes that make you, you. There are 46 chromosomes in a human body cell. That is a number that you would need to know. There's going to be 23 chromosomes in 2 other cells, like the sperm and the egg cells, but 46 chromosomes are in every other type of cell besides the sperm and the eggs. There are 3 forms of a chromosome. All right, so here's pictures of all 3. The first one is chromatin, and that's pictured here. All right, see all that little stringy blue line? That is chromatin. That is the form of a chromosome when the cell is growing, for example. It looks like a ball of yarn, or sometimes, depending on the diagram and the microscope, sometimes it might look like just dots in there. The second form of a chromosome is a chromatid, and this is showing 2 chromatids in this picture. They're called sister chromatids because they're exactly the same. So a chromatid is half of this X. Sometimes it's bent, sometimes it's straight. And then the full X is called the actual chromosome. So the chromosome is the full X, and basically it's 2 chromatids held together by a center protein called a centromere. That little dot right there is a centromere. All right, so a couple other terminology, vocabulary terms. Here's an unduplicated chromosome. All these little bands of colors, those are where the genes are. And so you can see that this is an X, so this is a chromosome, or sister chromatids. Each individual one is a chromatid, right? And then this maroon-looking dot or line that's connecting them is the centromere, and that's a duplicated chromosome. All right, chromosome types. There are 2 kinds of chromosomes. We have sex chromosomes. Sex chromosomes determine the sex of the organism. So for a male, they have 2 chromosomes that do not match, and that would be XY, and then for females, it would be XX. They would both match. So out of the 46 chromosomes total, 2 of them are the sex chromosomes in the human body cells. The other type of chromosomes are the autosomes. They do not determine the sex of the organism. They determine all the other kind of traits that you might have. So if 2 of them are sex chromosomes, all of the rest of them are autosomes. So 44 out of 46 are the autosomes. All right, there are also chromosomes called homologous chromosomes. And they're also called homologs. I don't test on that, but you might see that on a worksheet. And these are chromosomes where you have 2 copies of them. So you see like the blue and the green, and they're next to each other, and the blue and the green, and they're next to each other. Those are homologous chromosomes. So this is a homologous chromosome, and this is a homologous chromosome. There are 2 different colors to represent that one is coming from mom and one is coming from dad. They have the same size when they're next to each other. They have the same shape typically, and they'll have the same information, like the same genes on them. All right, and then lastly, I believe, are the 2 types of cells. We have diploid cells and haploid cells. A diploid cell, DI, means 2. That means these are cells that have the chromosomes in pairs, like I just showed you for the homologous chromosomes. The symbol is going to be 2N, meaning there's 2 times the number of chromosomes. And the cells that are diploid in our body are the somatic cells or the body cells. Somatic and body cells are the same thing. So these types of cells, most of our cells in our body are going to be diploid, which means the chromosomes are in pairs, one from mom and one from dad. Our human diploid number is 46. The other type of cells are haploid cells. HA, to me, I think about like half. They have half the number of chromosomes. They only have one copy of the chromosomes. Their chromosomes are not in pairs. So instead of the symbol being 2N, the symbol is 1N. And these cells you would find in the sperm and the egg. Sex cells or gametes. And these are your sperm and your egg cells. So gametes are another name for gametes, are sex cells, and two examples of sex cells are the sperm in the male and the egg in the female. So our human haploid number, instead of 46, because there's only one pair or one chromosome, not pairs, is going to be 23. Okay. And so lastly is karyotype, and we'll be going over that in class. And that finishes this podcast.